All right, so this is Awesome Toy Blog, and I'm here in the Hasbro showroom talking Transformers, an annual tradition here, one of my highlights of the show at this point. So, you guys are really busy, firing on all cylinders. We've got Power of the Primes wrapping up. We've got War for Cybertron Siege announced. We have a new animated series coming, Cyberverse, and because you're going to have some free time, a Bumblebee movie hitting holiday.
You've got Masterpiece too. We have that
Right,
too.
Masterpiece, yes. So, very busy. So let's start with the big guy. Let's start with Predaking.
Okay.
So he's the Titan class for Power of the Primes.
Yep.
Coming out holiday this year. So you've got a ton of experience with combiners over the past few years. What about Predaking made him unique or challenging from a design or a toy perspective?
Well, with every Titan, you have complexity because you're dealing with a physically big thing. You've got to kind of watch the hips. You got to make sure it can support its own weight. You got to make sure the ankles are strong enough so it doesn't tip over. There's like all sorts of just big. I don't know. Physics doesn't work with you because it's so physically big. So right out of the gate, you have that. The next thing is there's usually a lot of molds involved to something like that, and when you have a toy that big, you have to kind of figure out what pieces go in which mold. And then on top of it, you actually have the fact that this guy's a combiner, which makes it even more complicated. You've got all the joints that you have to connect the guy together, make sure those are all solid. And then I think probably the biggest challenge of all was because Predaking is such a popular character, we wanted to make sure that his combined mode had articulation that surpassed every other version of Predaking that's ever been done, but also was definitely leaps and bounds above other Titan class characters we've done. So I don't know if you've seen images online of how he can be posed out, but he's able to really take on some incredible poses because he's got rocker ankles. He's got really beefy knees and hips, and you're able to really get a lot of incredible dynamic poses out of him because he was really in the G1 show was a very dynamic combiner in general. So I think all those things together really end up with it's the perfect storm of complicated issues. But luckily, Miru and I work with such an incredible group of engineers at Hasbro that I think they make things that much easier because we're able to work together as a team and figure those things out.
So, one of the things that sets Transformers apart from other toy lines is that it's much more than just a toy line. There's a strong part of storytelling in there. So let's talk about Cyberverse briefly, the new animated series. So what's the basic premise of the show?
So I think what's really exciting about the Cyberverse series is that we have an opportunity with the Bumblebee movie to attract a whole new generation of fans to a beloved character like Bumblebee. Like Miru, for example, grew up with the 2007 film. She loves Bumblebee. Yeah. And you've got guys like me who grew up with the goofy baby Bumblebee from the G1 series, and he turned into a Beetle. So with Cyberverse, this is a story that revolves around Bee, and as he actually meets with Windblade, as we revealed in our panel, and Windblade actually helps Bee access his memories, and through those memories, we get vignettes of story, and through those vignettes of story, we're able to introduce classic characters that everybody knows. You see a little bit of a backstory and history. It's being told through this interesting new storytelling device, but you also get brand new characters. And who's the new female car Decepticon?
We are down to our last few Optimus Prime posters. They are exclusive San Diego Comic-Con posters for our new War for Cybertron.
Drawing a blank.
Come on up and get them.
So fans, if they want to check out more about Cyberverse, check out a review from the panel. Sean Isabella.
Shadow Striker.
Shadow Striker. There you go. Yeah, it's a little early here for us.
Yep, that's all right. Yeah, no,
We're still on East Coast time, right? But no, it's really exciting to be able to work on a brand that's able to touch so many different dimensions, and having Cyberverse be part of our line for our youngest fans. Rescue Bots really is for our youngest fans, but for a new generation of fans, it's an exciting opportunity for us to focus on Bee and introduce lots of cool play features into the line too.
And I think one of the things Transformers does very well is that, like you said, it is split into different groups for different audiences. So you've got Robot Heroes for the really young kids, then Cyberverse, and then for the older kids, you introduced War for Cybertron Siege.
That's right.
So
Transformers
what?
posters
I mean,
come on up to the Hasbro main stage.
maybe about 10 years ago or so, we did explore War for Cybertron a bit on the console gaming, and it was supported with a couple waves of toys. What is going to set this approach to War for Cybertron differently from what we've seen before?
Well, this new trilogy, War for Cybertron, doesn't have anything to do with the previously released things of the same name. Simply like the name, we think that there's really a story to be told there. And from a story, I mean, it's the experience that fans have when they're playing with their toys on shelf. In the case of War for Cybertron Siege, this documents the last desperate hours of the Autobots fighting against the Decepticons. This is their last day on Cybertron, and they're going to give it everything that they can. But as Transformers fans, we know what's going to happen. It doesn't end well for them, and they have to make some tough choices. And to document that and really bring the shelf to life for fans, we're introducing new characters like the Battle Masters that will come with Fire Blast effect that allow you to pose out your Deluxe Voyager leader class robots and then attach Fire Blast effects to them by way of a new 3mm port system. We've removed line-wide gimmicks like Titan Master, Headmaster gimmicks or combiner joints and things like that, and really focusing in on the characters, making sure they're in scale with each other, and making sure that we add articulation, waist articulation, ankle rockers, and focus on the deco, making them the best versions of the characters we can. You're able to outfit your characters with characters that can weaponize them like COG, so you can customize them and kind of have fun with them on shelf. But for fans who just want to be able to pose them out, you can do that too.
Yeah, looking at the toys, the level of detail that you've achieved with these is just beyond what we've seen on shelves before. In fact, there's weathering on the figures, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's painted on. We don't. There's no sculpted weathering. But yeah, we've actually decided
Cybertron Siege, our brand new trilogy. Thank you for coming by.
That the stickers for Power of the Primes, they made sense for that trilogy. For this, because it's taking place in such a gritty, war-torn environment, the robot modes will have special gritty deco in places. Some of the vehicle modes, they don't have it as much, like, Sideswipe's a good example. He's a clean-looking car. But yeah, deco really it's really a big piece of the experience, and we want to make sure that we put a greater emphasis on not only the sculpted details, but also the painted details.
And then you also mentioned everyone is going to be in scale with each other.
That's correct.
How much harder does that make your job?
Incredibly difficult. It's mostly difficult when you go to, you think about, you only have so many Voyagers you can do over the course of a year. And some of those guys have to be Autobots and Decepticons and things like that. When you think about the height compared to the Starscream compared to Optimus Prime and stuff like that, it's like you can't fit. We can't force fit guys into deluxe class anymore. Like, it's like you have to end up really thinking about who's on your deluxe class, because those are like the Carbots are all about the same height. But you end up with characters that are bigger, characters that are smaller, and then we have to think about it. We have to think really hard about it. We've been working on the line for like 2 years now, so and honestly, we're still trying to work through it. We're working on 2020, 2021 right now, using the same format, trying to understand what characters we're going to release and what scale they are in comparison to each other. It's a giant jigsaw puzzle.
Okay.
It never ends.
I mean,
it's
looks,
really it's maddening sometimes.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, because that's the thing is that Optimus Prime is always generally in a different class and generally scales everyone else. But when you look at the display, it's fantastic how well everyone fits in together. Ultra Magnus is about 1.5 times the size of Prime with the armor build out. Which all pops on much like the G1 toy and the Robots in Disguise toy, right? You got your cab, and then you got the trailer that then builds out the armor.
That's exactly right. I think one of the things we're trying to do in War for Cybertron Siege is focus on the bots and try and make them the best bots that they are relative to what they were in their beginning stages. So it's like, if a character has an armor up feature, like Magnus has the sort of the white Optimus Prime on the inside, like, we'll do that. And if it's a character doesn't have a Headmaster gimmick, we're not going to put it in. We're just trying to make the coolest versions of those characters that we can, but we are trying to push the needle forward. Is that even a thing? We're trying to push the limits a little bit, and we're introducing new Cybertronian modes.
Okay.
So some of the characters in the 84 pilot, most of them, we never saw their modes. We saw some Tetrajets, you saw Wheeljack, you saw B, but the majority of those guys, like Optimus Prime, you never saw what his alt mode was. You didn't see what Ironhide's was. So we had to get a little creative and try to think about what is a Cybertron mode, but what's still going to be recognizable as a car. So it's like you want to make sure that a kid, like an 8-year-old kid, can come to the toy store and say, "Oh, that guy turns into a futuristic red sports car," or like, I didn't want to have some new fan coming into retail and being like, "Well, it's a really cool robot, but he turns into like a flying."
Frisbee,
like a weird
right?
frisbee. Yeah, it's like I don't know about it. So kids see cars, they see trucks. And we wanted to make sure they were futuristic looking, but still retain that context so that kids had some sort of like real world context of what they were.
And then, so as we're wrapping up here, so you've got the Bumblebee movie coming out end of year. Bumblebee rolled into our hearts in 1984.
Yeah.
So what is it about Bumblebee that you love?
Me? Well, I think it's really his childlike innocence. I think Yoke-san said it best when he called, in the Netflix special, he called him the sweet boy. And I think even when B is kicking butt, even in the 2007 movie when he's tearing things up, and he's still in his heart, he's a good bot. And I think he's the bot that I think connects with people. And the goofy looking little one that we know with the horns and really weird transformation of his legs, like he represents the innocence, I think, in all of us, and the naivete and the reason for us to want to be something bigger. And I think he connects with humans. He connected with Spike and Sparkplug. So I think with this new movie, Charlie has a similar relationship with B, and I think that it's exciting to be able to retell that story and that connection for a whole new generation. Amiru, what do you love about
Bumblebee?
Well, I mean, it was my first experience with the brand, and so it was a pretty big deal. I think it definitely has some innocence in it, intimacy, like your first car, that your best friend that turns into something that's great, and then you kind of influencing each other to be greater and trying to protect each other. So it's very intimate, and there's more layer than just an action and just the coolness of it. It definitely has more emotion to it too. So for me, like this movie, it means it's very a lot to me. Like working in a brand and like loving, the character. So I'm very excited about this.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys. Have a great Comic-Con, and keep bringing the great toys to shelves everywhere.
Right on. Thanks.
Thanks.